From ABC News, World News Saturday, here's Barry Seraphin.
Good evening. And a new development tonight, Nicaragua's President Ortega has reversed his long-standing policy and agreed to direct talks with the Contra rebels, one of several concessions he made at a summit meeting of Central American leaders in Costa Rica. As John Quinones reports, Ortega's change of heart may have breathed new life into the controversial Guatemala peace plan for the region.
After 2 days of heated debate, the 5 Central American presidents are expected to emerge from their meeting this evening with renewed hope for peace. In a surprise announcement tonight, Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega has unveiled his own 4-point peace plan, a list of concessions the Sandinistas say are designed to bring an end to the Contra war. As part of the initiative, President Ortega has agreed to begin immediate and direct negotiations with the Contras. If the rebels agree, it would be the first time the Sandinistas and the U.S.-supported Contras meet face-to-face. Ortega has also agreed to lift the state of emergency in Nicaragua. That would mean more democratic reforms, restoring freedom of the press and political expression. And the Sandinistas have agreed to provide amnesty for more political prisoners and call for a unilateral ceasefire in the Contra war. The Central American countries participating in the peace talks are expected to respond to the Nicaraguan offer later this evening. The 5 presidents spent most of the 2-day conference accusing each other of failing to comply with the peace plan. The negotiations continued through their late dinner and into the early morning. Costa Rican President Oscar Arias swam a few laps before the meeting reconvened today and vowed to push ahead with the peace effort.
Perhaps that's the only thing we could do now if we want to stop the war.
By late afternoon, Central American diplomats were more optimistic.
Things are finally coming to bear fruit, and those fruits are going to be good, I think.
Tonight, at the conclusion of the peace talks, Costa Rican President Oscar Arias announced the fruits of negotiation are already evident. All 5 Central American presidents then signed their approval of the Nicaraguan initiative. Peace talks with the Contras will begin if and when the rebels accept the offer. John Quinones, ABC News, San Jose, Costa Rica.
Here at home, under heavy police protection, 150 civil rights demonstrators marched in nearly all-white Forsyth County, Georgia today, 1 year after a similar demonstration was halted by Ku Klux Klansmen, hurling rocks, bottles, and racial epithets. This time, there was no violence after police barred everyone but the demonstrators, reporters, and people with homes along the march route from being present.
World News Saturday, brought to you by Dristan.
There are over 500,000 doctors in America, and they catch colds just like you. So, which cold medicine would family doctors like yours take for their own achy colds with congestion and sneezing? In a nationwide survey for their own achy colds, more doctors said they take the formula in Dristan than the formulas in Sudafed, Actifed, and Dimetapp combined.
I'm going to take what doctors would take. Wouldn't you?
Dristan, with the formula more doctors would take, tablets or caplets.
Imagine you were building a town. One company can supply you with almost any kind of truck to do almost any kind of job. That company is Ryder. We're more than yellow trucks. We help build towns, business by business, family by family, dream by dream. Ryder, we're there at every turn.
The truce declared in the verbal warfare between Republican presidential candidates Bob Dole and George Bush broke down today when they and their fellow GOP candidates had at each other in a New Hampshire debate. The gloves came off quickly, as Carol Simpson reports.
It was the 4th time the Republican presidential candidates appeared in a televised debate, and this one at Dartmouth College was clearly the liveliest. None of the 6 candidates was spared criticism from at least one of the others. But slinging the most arrows was Senator Robert Dole. His main target, frontrunner George Bush, the man Dole promised earlier this week to lay off of. He took jibes at Bush on who saved Social Security.
I thought I fixed it too, but George Bush says he fixed it here in his little circular. And I don't recall George being in the loop then either. I don't think he attended a single meeting. But we did save Social Security. He takes credit for a lot of things. I was almost ready to vote for you after I read that.
Later, the senator took out after Bush on ethics.
George asked me to disclose my tax returns. Well, I've done that today, George. Not just for 10 years, but for 21. So I called you and raised you. And I hope that we can have the rest of your
You did exactly the right thing.
Yeah, so that's good.
And George Bush once again had to defend himself on the Iran-Contra issue.
You in the media have a fascination with Iran that I don't think the American people are interested in that much. Nobody here is going to do anything but tear down the president, tear down the party, and tear down the further add to Democratic fuel by continuing to debate this. The questions have been answered.
Most political observers seem to think Dole scored the most points inside the auditorium, but he may have lost points outside. About 200 anti-apartheid demonstrators accused Dole of supporting the regime in South Africa in an attempt to win votes on the Republican right. Carol Simpson, ABC News, Hanover, New Hampshire.
Shortly before today's debate, GOP candidate Pierre DuPont withdrew from the Texas primary because of forged signatures that appeared on petitions to put his name on the ballot there. DuPont called himself the victim of a nasty fraud, but said he could not condone the practices used in gathering the signatures. A receptionist working for his campaign has been fired following accusations that she was responsible for 136 phony names on the petitions. For the first time since he re-entered the campaign, Gary Hart joined the Democratic candidates for a debate last night in Iowa. Although Hart is his party's frontrunner in most polls, he did not dominate last night's confrontation. Jim Wooten was there.
Backstage, before it began, he was clearly an outsider, a stranger in the crowd, set apart from his Democratic brethren, the prodigal on his own. He looked a little tired and drawn, perhaps slightly uninvolved as the debate droned on, as though his heart wasn't in it. To the obligatory question about his character, he described himself as a sinner, a condition common, he said, to all mortals.
My religion tells me that all of us are sinners. I think the question is whether our sins prohibit us from, or prevent us from, providing strong leadership.
As for the other six, it was a rather benign evening, as cautious and undramatic as their many previous encounters. Governor Babbitt, as usual, talked about the honesty and courage of his own campaign. And for Senator Gore, who's been missing from Iowa for 2 months, he had this playful greeting.
Al, it's good to see you back. I thought they might start putting your picture on milk cartons.
The joke got a laugh from the audience, but brought protest from the parents of missing children. Gore, who's focusing on his native South, departed from typical Southern politics by opposing right-to-work laws and denouncing tobacco subsidies. The Reverend Jackson suggested that his race will not be a factor in his campaign.
And if I am the best candidate, if I deserve the people's support because I have stood with the people, I expect to gain their support.
There was a little good-natured skirmishing about whose slogans belonged to whom.
You heard a little earlier that Jesse agrees with me that we've got to do something about mergers and takeovers.
My question... you agree with me that we need star schools and not Star Wars.
That was Ted Kennedy's line, and I think we both have used it well. Now,
Senator Simon, asked by Babbitt to give up money from political action committees, said he doesn't like the system but is forced nevertheless to exist within it. And when it was over, there was Hart once again on the outside, alone in the crowd. This morning after breakfast with his wife Lee, he headed back into his curious campaign. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Des Moines.
Arizona Republican Governor Evan Mecham again today rejected calls for his resignation. Mecham called a report by a special counsel charging him with concealing an illegal campaign loan, little more than an emotional appeal to impeach me. Mecham is already charged in a 6-count felony indictment with fraud, perjury, and filing false documents.
Just cut the red wire.
What do we do now, Chief? Chief?
It's time to change your bulb to Philips.
Philips Longer Life square bulbs last 33% longer than ordinary round bulbs.
Headache, pressure, and congestion, all together major symptoms of sinus complex. You need to feel better, but not drowsy. You need Sinutab 2 no drowsiness formula, so you feel altogether better and awake.
Winter allergies and colds, the sneezing and congestion can make you feel miserable. For relief, discover Benadryl Decongestant, combining Benadryl with the decongestant found in the leading cold medication, Benadryl Decongestant.
I just got back from spot checking 10 stores in the Southwest. We're cutting our throats out there. We have no inventory control. We have no common link. If we don't tie our locations together pretty quick,
Wrong department.
we might as well put this company on sale.
Sounds like I've been away from the floor too long. Tell me what you need to make it happen.
This mouse is about to see something no mouse has ever seen before. It's a new way to kill mice from Decon. Best of all, it's the ideal mouse killer for your family. Introducing the Decon Mouse Killing Station. It contains a solid block of bait that's securely held inside. Mice enter, eat, then leave and go off to die. The new Decon Mouse Killing Station. It works like nothing you've ever seen before.
This is election eve in Haiti, but major candidates and many voters are boycotting the election to protest the rule of that country's military-led junta and the violence that destroyed the last attempt at balloting. Other forms of protest are already underway. Details from Peter Collins.
A general strike in Port-au-Prince today appeared to be at least partly successful. Opposition leaders called it to protest what they say will be a rigged election tomorrow.
It's sending a message to the government that the country doesn't want those charade elections and that the people is committed to democracy.
Most shops and major businesses were closed and the streets were less crowded than usual.
As far as I'm concerned, the strike is successful. 90% of the people have stayed home.
Despite an appeal to vote from the leader of Haiti's ruling military council, General Henri Namphy, many people said they would not.
I'm planning to stay home and sleep, and I don't have any friends who'll vote.
Most people here hold the army responsible for what happened on Election Day 2 months ago. At least 34 people were killed in attacks on polling places. The voting was canceled. The top 4 candidates who were expected to split 80% of the vote have dropped out of this new election organized by the army. Under new rules, soldiers will be in polling places and each ballot will be examined after it's marked. The opposition says the few candidates who remain will be puppets for the army. After putting up most of the money for the first election, the U.S. now says it's disappointed by what's happening here, but Washington has done little to affect tomorrow's outcome.
The problem we have is that it isn't our country, nor is it a colony of the United States, nor should it be.
The U.S. government is prepared to live with whatever government that would come up of these incredibly unfair elections.
So what most Haitians expect from tomorrow is the facade of a civilian government and behind it, a new military dictatorship. Peter Collins, ABC News, Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Israeli troops fired rubber bullets and tear gas at hundreds of residents of a West Bank refugee camp today as they crowded around a visiting United Nations official. Despite curfews, there were scattered clashes in both the West Bank and Gaza Strip, leaving several injured among both Palestinians and Israeli troops. U.S. Consul Morris Draper called on the Israelis to ease restrictions against Palestinians and, in his words, let the people there breathe a little.
Good furniture care with decorator Ann McKenzie.
Hi, a client asked, how can I tell if my furniture has wax buildup? Well, if you use spray wax frequently, like for everyday cleaning, chances are you've got wax buildup. So use spray wax only occasionally to polish. For day-to-day cleaning, use Endust. It has no wax buildup. After cleaning your best with spray wax, spray Endust. If your cloth gets dirty, you've got wax buildup. So use spray wax only for occasional waxing. Use Endust for day-to-day cleaning.
Guess what? My folks just left.
Thank you.
When a man loves a woman,
The Subaru Justy with on-demand four-wheel drive gets you anywhere you want to go less expensively than any other four-wheel drive car.
Mr. Potts, you're home. Of course, the roads are terrible. What brings you out on a night like this, James?
These days, to have information bouncing off a satellite is not exactly front-page news. But when it's headlines and pictures, ball scores and stock prices, that is news. And it's all going from a Contel satellite to nationwide printing plants. On time, every time. If you have news to get out, Contel can help you too. For Contel, I'm Charlton Heston.
Get your spaghetti ready. Get ready for Ragu Thick and Hearty Spaghetti Sauce. Our thickest, heartiest sauce ever. Now your spaghetti's ready. Ragu Thick and Hearty.
A waxy stick for chapped lips, waxers for candles, Vaseline Lip Therapy is for lips.
It's better because it covers more completely. It not only heals, it helps prevent chapping. Vaseline Lip Therapy for healing and soothing relief.
Jimmy the Greek Snyder, a fixture on CBS Sports since 1976, is out of a job tonight. The reason? Controversial remarks he made yesterday about black athletes and the role of blacks in professional sports. The story from Jackie Judd.
Within 24 hours of having made the inflammatory remarks, Snyder was fired.
CBS Sports today ended its relationship with Jimmy the Greek Snyder.
The popular betting man sportscaster got himself into trouble during a lunchtime interview about the significance of Martin Luther King's birthday. He said that blacks were bred to be superior athletes.
The slave owner would breed his big black to his big woman so that he could have a big black kid, see?
And Snyder said that's why blacks excel over whites in sports.
The black is a better athlete to begin with because he's been bred to be that way, because of his high thighs and big thighs that goes up into his back.
Snyder went on, saying there's not much room left for, quote, the white guys in sports, except for a couple of coaching jobs. His dismissal seemed inevitable, given the widespread coverage and criticism.
I think his remarks fall into two categories. Category one is that they were racist. And category two, they were stupid.
Civil rights leader and presidential candidate Jesse Jackson placed a call to Snyder today, seemed to accept his apology with qualification.
One's life work should not be marred by one error, but it's an error that must be addressed.
Even former colleague Brent Musburger found Snyder's public comments astonishing.
I don't think the network was left with any choice in the matter. I don't think the network fired him. I think he fired himself with those comments.
Late today, Jimmy the Greek issued a statement offering what he calls a heartfelt apology to those he may have offended, adding he's turned the matter over to his attorney. Jackie Judd, ABC News, Washington.
In other sports news, the top-ranked team in college basketball, the Arizona Wildcats, went on the road today. The Wildcats jumped out to a big first-half lead and went on to beat conference rival Oregon. The other highly ranked Wildcats, those from number 5 Kentucky, also won a conference game. Kentucky moved to 12-1 on the season with 23 points from sharpshooter Rex Chapman. And two traditional powers clashed in Louisville. The Cardinals, with big man Purvis Ellison and Herbert Crook dominating inside, easily beat the Bruins of UCLA. Tomorrow, the NFL's Final Four play for trips to the Super Bowl. In the AFC, the Cleveland Browns travel to Denver to face the Broncos. But the Browns will be meeting more than the football club. As Bill O'Reilly reports, almost everyone in Denver is part of the team.
When you think of Colorado, you're likely to picture Rocky Mountain skiing. And if you're a football fan, the Denver Broncos. Perhaps nowhere else in the country is regional pride so wrapped up in a sports franchise. The Broncos have become a passion for their fans.
This is their only identifiable sports entity, and they worship it.
They feel that the Denver Broncos really are representatives of their city, almost like an ancient Greek city-state, and the athletes who participated in the ancient Olympics.
Out of this atmosphere has come Bronco Mania, massive merchandising, houses painted team colors, even tuxedos of Bronco blue. Denver games have sold out for 15 straight years, and TV audiences are through the roof.
I don't think it's just a passion. I don't think it's an obsession. I think it's a sickness. And when you go to the stadium on Sunday, the stadium rocks.
But there is something even more powerful than Bronco mania in Colorado, John Elway mania. The Denver quarterback has been voted the league's most valuable player and is now vying with Gary Hart as Colorado's most visible citizen.
I don't know anybody else who carries more impact on the citizenry of the state than John Elway.
He seems to be a very fine young man.
Fine young man aside, it is Elway's staggering ability that has made him a hero. In only his 5th season, the 27-year-old has already passed for more than 15,000 yards, a Hall of Fame pace. There's no question the Broncos are built around Elway.
We rely a great deal on John. He makes us what we are.
Boyishly clean-cut, Elway is the stuff matinee idols are made of. But despite his dashing image, the players call him Duke because he swaggers like John Wayne, Elway is uneasy with fame and scrambles away from public scrutiny.
I'm a private person, a pretty shy person. I don't like to do a lot of speaking engagements just because I don't feel comfortable doing it.
Even his teammates, who generally like Elway, find it hard to get close to him.
I just really haven't had the opportunity to get to know John.
It's kind of hard to walk up to the Duke and talk to him.
Is it hard, really, for you guys?
Well, I'm intimidated because he's such a great athlete.
With flamboyant figures like Brian Bosworth and Jim McMahon currently in play, the image of an NFL star is high profile. Elway is the opposite of that image. Although he'll earn more than $2 million a year as a player, off the field he's low profile.
You know, even though it'd be nice to have a couple of national commercials and those type of things, I'm not interested in doing everything I can outside of football.
His few local commercials are, well, local.
My contract says I'm not supposed to sneak out here to Copper Mountain to ski, so I brought a disguise. Think anybody will notice?
But on the field, Elway is a 1,000-pound gorilla, doing just about anything he wants. Last year against Cleveland in the playoffs, Elway engineered a last-minute 98-yard drive to tie the game that many football experts consider one of the finest clutch performances in history. Tomorrow, the Broncos play the Browns again. But win or lose, Elway believes he has already fulfilled his destiny.
If I was to sit down when I was 4 years old and draw up exactly what I wanted to do with my life, it probably wouldn't be as good as it is right now.
Only a Super Bowl win, he says, could make life better. Bill O'Reilly, ABC News, Denver.
When we come back, the effort to save the Mexican wolf.
I was taking a bath, long about a Saturday night. Gloved up, got a clog in my tub, but Liquid Drano fixed it up right.
Liquid Drano, the liquid strong enough to be called Drano.
Many financial opportunities offer protection, yet one stands out because it also offers potential for growth. The Traveler's Universal Life. Life insurance protection and tax-deferred growth opportunity. So you'll have a special kind of nest egg to secure the financial future of your family or business. Get the Traveler's Universal Life and watch your opportunities grow. The Travelers, you're better off under the umbrella.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion, heartburn, and gas, nobody does as much as Maalox Plus. Dose for dose, it neutralizes more than any regular strength antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as Maalox Plus.
Finally tonight, they're called Mexican wolves, and for 12,000 years they roamed free in what is now northern Mexico, Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. But they were a threat to cattle, so in the early part of this century they were hunted down so effectively they are now all but extinct. And unless the federal government acts quickly, they may disappear altogether. The story from Roger Peterson.
Only 30 of the so-called Mexican wolves survive in the United States, all in zoos. First ranchers, then bounty hunters shot, trapped, and poisoned the wolves with government backing. Now the government is trying to bring them back.
The wolf is really no different than any other endangered species. Legally, the Fish and Wildlife Service has the same obligation for reintroduction of the wolf as it does to the reintroduction and enhancement of the bald eagle.
4 wolves were trapped in Mexico in 1979, brought back to the States to start a captive breeding program. It worked, and officials are ready to reintroduce them to the wild. But the program stalled when it came time to talk about where to release the wolves. Texas said no. Arizona said they'd think about it. Here in New Mexico, state officials said there might be one appropriate spot, the missile range at White Sands. No people, no cattle, no sheep seemed perfect until the Army said sorry, they couldn't have biologists running around checking wolves and delaying test firings. The Army wasn't the first, but
we said no last, and therefore we're being identified and questioned as the only people who said no.
without cooperation from the Army or the states, the program is going nowhere.
We can't move forward on a program like this without state support. And I am not in a position to try to force it down anybody's throat.
As far as the Gaming Commission is concerned, we haven't taken a formal vote on it, but I'd be very surprised if it wasn't unanimous against the reintroduction.
Ranchers have a lot of political clout, and the state is listening to the concerns of men like Phil Harvey, who says he killed 50 coyotes last year but still lost 4 valuable calves.
We love wildlife as much as anybody, but at the same time we're trying to make a living, and we see what happens when these wolves and other predators come in, and it's a real threat to our livelihood.
We'll keep trying and hope the day will come when the public is ready for the wolves.
Keep them in zoos. They're not smart enough to survive. They weren't. That's why they didn't survive before. The coyote survived.
But the zoos may not have room.
I would hate to see them just die off right here in captivity. It would be unbelievable that could happen here in the United States.
Nearly extinct with government help, brought back by a government program. Now the wolves face extinction again because state and federal governments can't agree on their future. Roger Peterson, ABC News, Albuquerque.
And that's our report for tonight. Britt Hume will have more news later on the Weekend Report. I'm Barry Sarafin. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
ABC's Olympic Diary is brought to you by Stanley Automatic Garage Door Openers. 1979 was their year. 1980 was not. Randy Gardner and Ty Babylonia won the Pairs World Championship in '79. But in 1980, Randy Gardner pulled a muscle. The couple's withdrawal from Olympic competition was inevitable.
Stanley, we open doors all across America.
Doors that open wide and welcome you inside. That open up to your special day. Doors that get you on your way. Stanley doors for London nights that bring you in where it's warm and dry.
Stanley doors for the quality of your life.
Stanley helps you do things right.
The disappointment of 1980 never dimmed one fact. Ty and Randy were the only Americans to win a World Pairs Championship since 1950.
Tomorrow, watch World News Sunday. At the dinner hour, join Sam Donaldson for a complete look at the day's top stories. And Ray Gandalf will have the latest sports news. You can't be everywhere news is happening, but ABC News can. Expect the world of ABC News. From Washington, this has been World News Saturday, a presentation of ABC News. This is ABC.
A Big Mac attack could strike at any time.
Warning, Big Mac attack.
Mr. Jeffries.
Mr. Jeffries. Mr. Jeffries. Please proceed immediately to the nearest McDonald's. Big Mac? All systems normal.
Now when you buy a Big Mac and any size fries, get a medium Coke for 1 red cent at the 1 cent sale for a limited time at participating McDonald's.
Most heat and air problems don't start with the thermostat. In fact, the problem is generally found at the other end. So if it's not working, don't make things worse by taking it into your own hands. Call in the heat and air specialist, and we'll set things right. Except for the big hole in the wall.
In Nashville, your heating and air conditioning